Well, well, well. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse review. It took me a little while because of the holidays, but and no spoilers. Don't worry, no spoilers as far as the plot is concerned. Um, man. So I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is I think it was a perfect film. Perfect. Even in the fact it was animation, I think you can get a lot. You can get away with a lot more when it's animation. That's the go-to or throwaway thing in the entertainment industry. Is like, yo, make it animated if you want to like push the boundaries. Um, I mean, perfect coming of age. I encourage you, take a child or take a young man to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Take a girl too, but I'm just saying I think that definitely it's a teenage coming of age film. I know I keep using the same term. That's how it just keeps falling on my tongue. Um, okay, before I go into that, let me get the bad news out of the way. And I know the internet is forever, and so I make this because it's art, artistic expression. Anybody's able to disagree with me, but I personally think that they could have done this movie with it being all Miles Morales by himself. I think that the way that they executed it was cool with the many different Spider people, but I personally think that they didn't want to do a black Spider-Man by himself the whole way. The reason why I say that, and so before I get into that, I think that they did that. They didn't want to do an all-black Spider-Man by himself, which he could have done, but you got to bring Gwen Stacy in, Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir, and the old Spider-Man to mix up the drink. That's my personal opinion. I still think we live in a country that ain't really ready, all the way ready for all black Spider-Man. Now we can go back to 2011, keep it 100, a stack of thou, Billy Wow. Like when Miles Morales came on the scene, 2011 Ultimate Spider-Man, I think it was. Shoot, what's that dude's name? Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. One Sarah's the artist, Michael's the writer. When they released, and I remember seeing it, I was in Barnes and Nobles in Fairfield, California, and I saw a black Spider-Man, a boy. That was an African American mixed with Puerto Rican living in Brooklyn. I personally, my heart leapt, but I knew to myself, this ain't gonna go all that well with the rest of the world. I knew that there's some people that just ain't ready for that yet, just like they're not really wasn't really ready for a black president. But the influence of the character was based on or influenced by Barack Obama being president. Keep it 100 again. Not only influenced, but they also were going to cast, because of the influence, Childish Gambino, or you would know him maybe as Donald Glover. That whole thing, 2011, was a big deal. And so Marvel threw it up the flagpole. Stan Lee, rest in peace, saluted it. He's like, yo, I love it. And he's the right dude to ask, because Stan Lee has been pushing the envelope for civil rights for years. I mean, since the beginning. Black Panther. Some of y'all may or may not know, but Stan Lee is the catalyst behind the X-Men being a type form of African American during the civil rights movement. Like there's the Charles Xavier X-Men mutants, and then there's the Magneto ones. Charles Xavier, you may or may not know, was a type of Martin Luther King. Let's all get along, live together, peace and harmony, black and white together. And you got the Malcolm X, by any means necessary mutants. That's like, yo, we're superior. We ain't got nothing to be ashamed of. We can off y'all, blah blah blah. So that's how Stan Lee's been getting down. Black Panther during the Black Panther Party. So Stan Lee is the right dude to ask, and he was like, do it, like go for it. So that's a little bit of the backstory. So Stan Lee approved it. I remember there being a public outcry, like, no, Spider-Man's supposed to be white. He's Peter Parker. I mean, you can only redo Spider-Man so many ways. You know, I mean, by the time of 2011, he was a a college professor, and they did some reboots and stuff. So Sony still owns Spider-Man and all of that other stuff. So they took a long time, and Donald Glover got older. So Donald Glover was supposed to be the original Spider-Man, Miles Morales spider character. But then, like I said, there's a hang up with Sony and all that, and then also too the other Avengers stuff started happening, so it kind of got pushed farther back. But again, back to this where we are today. I would have loved to have seen that whole thing be all Miles Morales. I think that they diluted the brand a little bit, the craft, because they wanted to bring in a girl, and like I said, the cafe. I keep wanting to say Cafe du Nord, Noir, Spider-Man Noir, Spider Ham. Like with none of these characters we've ever really taken seriously. So that's my problem. Other than that, end of the bad news. Perfectly funny, comedic timing. Nicolas Cage, the casting, Mahershala Ali, like as Uncle Aaron, which is a form of Uncle Ben. Nicolas Cage's Spider Noir, like that was funny too. Gwen Stacy, the ballerina, and something that touched me, and I cried a couple of times in this film, legit, like not like Denzel Washington tear, but like Ron Howard tears, like that model of father and son. Like I'm aware of that because of Tommy Mills, rest in peace. Also, my father, like my dad, and anybody that knows Tommy Mills knows his relationship with his son. Like my dad used to make me, like when I used to get ready to leave the house, he's like, "Where are you going? You ain't going nowhere without giving me a kiss." Like that's my dad. Like he's that. Whoop, tell me I love you, from a cop standpoint. Oh wait, okay. I'll get back to that in a second. Anyway, so the modeling, the father modeling, how that's not lost, and that we still need that. Like I said, the passing of the guard. You have the Rocky, old Spider-Man, passing to the Creed, new Spider-Man, changing of the guard, passing of the baton, and also not being good at first. That's another thing too, is giving your self-esteem an opportunity to grow, and wait for yourself to flourish. That's tough. You know what I mean? It's difficult lessons, good lessons, but also too, doing your own thing, your own way, like finding your own identity. I'm serious. They threaded it together nicely. It's a great conversation piece. So if you want to get closer to your children, whether they're adult or little kids or whatever, take them to see this film and have a conversation afterward. Be like, yo, what were your thoughts about that? You know what I mean? And so it's a good conversational opener. And it still adheres to the Marvel action, you know what I mean, and with comedy mixed with message. You know, it was very inspirational. I'm gonna see it 3 or 4 more times. And I think that Caleb is going to be Miles Morales for not for Thanksgiving, for Halloween. I know it's kind of early, but I see my own son. You know what I mean? It's the 3rd generation. Like I see it. I really see my dad to me to Caleb, like that, and just in being with him where he is in his life, accepting him where he is, and rooting him on for how he's designed to be, like being a student of who your child is supposed to be or wants to be. Yeah, powerful. Graphics, of course, you can get away with a lot as far as animation is concerned. It was a seamless thread of action, no rest. What else? You just want, and I wasn't hoping for anything connected to the Avengers or this Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff. I think it was a good standalone, and I wouldn't want anybody to try to touch that and try to jam a square peg into a round hole. You know what I mean? Marvel did another wonderful job with Miles Morales, and so go see it. You know, go see it a couple of times. Let me see. Is there anything else? Yeah, take somebody. Take a group. Take a group to go see it. And before I forget, whoo! Absolutely. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Appreciate y'all, man. Love it.